Hi, I'm Marco Rubio, and this is this week's edition of Constituent Mailbox. As we do every week, we encourage you to write us your letters or send us your emails with your concerns or comments about the job we're doing here in Washington, D.C., or the issues that we're considering. So this week we've picked 3 letters out of our email box, and we're going to read them on the air. We're going to answer your questions. The first email comes from Roger in Spring Hill regarding the AGREE Act, the equipment expensing provision. He writes, I heard your recent interview where you discussed the AGREE bill. I was disappointed to hear you propose a 100% deduction on taxes on equipment purchases. Is that what you think the problem is in our economy today, business not getting enough tax advantage? Are you suggesting that if this was enacted that businesses would start hiring again? This type of thinking speaks to one of the biggest problems we have in this country today, creating loopholes, favors and preferences for corporations, and doing nothing for citizens. Well, Roger, 2 things. Number 1, I agree that our tax code is full of too many loopholes. I would love nothing more than to do tax reform. I'm ready to do it right now. I will work with anyone that's prepared to do tax reform. Let's get rid of all the loopholes and exemptions. Let's create a flat tax that is low and simple and easy to comply with. Unfortunately, I can't get anyone in the Democrat Party to play ball with us on that. And the result is we have to do something. Now let me explain to you why the equipment purchasing credit is so important. For example, a small business owned by an individual or a husband or a wife, a bakery or a dry cleaning operation, who decides that next year they want to grow, they want to expand. Maybe they want to buy a new piece of equipment and hire a couple of people to work on that equipment. Maybe they want to open a new location. If they can't expense the cost of buying that equipment, if they have to pay taxes on the money they use to buy that equipment, they may not buy that equipment next year. And here's who gets hurt. The people who build that equipment, the people who install that equipment, and the 2 or 3 workers that they were going to hire to operate that equipment for them. And so that's why that provision is important. Now sure, if we had a country where the tax code is low and flat and simple to comply with, we wouldn't need these deductions and exemptions, and I'm prepared to work with anyone right now to make that happen. But right now they don't want to do that, so we have to do something. We can't just sit around and wait while jobs go overseas and jobs aren't being created and small businesses aren't growing. And that was the idea behind this bill, and that's why it has bipartisan support. That's why it's so important that we allow people to deduct 100% of the costs of growing their business. And that's what this provision would do. Our second email is from Robert in Dunellen, who writes about sequestration. He says, Senator Rubio, I am a Republican and have been since I was 18. I have voted in every election and I voted for you, but I will no longer support you or any other Republican if you let the $600 billion in defense cuts go forward. This is irresponsible when so much of our military equipment is worn out. Defense is the federal government's primary job, and when you even have a Democrat Secretary of Defense saying that these cuts are disastrous, it is eye-opening. You people are playing political games with our defense. I plead with you to stop this. Well, Robert, I share your frustration. I voted against the bill that did this. This was part of the debt limit increase deal that they cut back in the summer. I voted against it. And one of the reasons why I voted against it was because of defense sequestration. The second thing I've said is that we need to figure out a way to undo this because it endangers our national defense. By the way, it's not $600 billion, it's closer to $1 trillion because there are already $400 billion that the president is asking to be cut out of defense. This is on top of that. This would be $1 trillion cut to defense, which is completely unacceptable, completely unsustainable, and I'm working hard to figure out a way to get out of this. It is a disastrous idea. It's the reason why I voted against one of the reasons why I voted against the debt limit bill and why I thought the super committee was such a terrible, terrible idea. Finally, our third email is from Connie. She writes from Hernando County about the Stock Act, and she writes, I know you are a new senator and are not responsible for laws that were enacted prior to your arrival. However, I do believe you have an opportunity to try to set things right. Would you consider introducing a bill to eliminate the heinous privilege of allowing members of Congress to act on and profit from insider trading information? Well, Connie, there's actually been 2 bills already filed, and I have been a co-sponsor of both of them. I think it is important that we act on this. This is something new to me. I got to Congress just a few months ago. I've only been serving here less than a year in the United States Senate. I don't trade in stock to begin with, but there's nothing wrong with trading in stock. The issue here is insider trading, which we're opposed to and which is wrong. And that's why I've co-sponsored 2 bills, one by Senator Gillibrand of New York, a Democrat, and one by Senator Brown of Massachusetts, a Republican. I've sponsored both bills that not only would make it illegal in the laws for members of Congress to do that, but would also enshrine it in the rules of the Senate. In essence, it would make it a Senate rule violation where members of the Senate could be sanctioned by the Senate itself for doing these sorts of things. So I saw the same report you did. I was outraged by it, and I immediately added my co-sponsorship to these 2 pieces of legislation, which I expect and hope that the Congress will pass. Well, I want to thank all of you for your emails and your letters throughout the year and throughout this week. We're getting close to the end of the year here. The legislative year will end about the 20th or the 23rd of December. But continue to send your emails and letters. We'll pick a few every week and read them on the air. Who knows? Maybe next week your email or letter will be chosen. So I want to thank all of you again for the privilege and the honor of serving you here in Washington, D.C. May God bless all of you, and may God bless the United States.